Well, hello, friends, and welcome to Sense on Sundays, or Stephen on Sundays, whatever way you want to see it. Save our souls. Doing our best to continue the mission by sharing truths and facts and realities as we come across them, with the hope and the intention of lifting the general awareness so that these monstrous diabolical institutions that infest the world at the moment will be arrested, both literally and figuratively, in the diabolical work that they are carrying out. Now, we'll start off here, guys. The title today, a little bit dramatic, perhaps. Ready for the next sinister social experiment? Ready for war? Or has it already begun? Now, again, a rather dramatic start today, guys. There are, of course, different types of war. There's the traditional type, which we'll cover in a moment, the guns, bullets, tanks, and soldiers version. And then there's the war for the minds and the souls of humanity. And I use the words carefully, guys, all right? Those people who may not have a religious bent, I'm sure that what's going on in the world today is at least giving you pause for thought and creating a space where you must start considering and certainly hoping that there is some ultimate good, benign source out there, because without that as an anchor, we appear to be truly lost, because at the moment, it is largely sociopaths and psychopaths in high places. I cover this in other videos, guys. It's also covered in the book, top right, Crisis, Color, Coup. Sociopaths and psychopaths, very simply, are people who do not care about other people. They care about money and profit and greed. And if they do this for long enough, they can be completely heartless, completely soulless, completely conscienceless, and devoid of guilt or regret for anything that they do, as long as they profit from it, okay? Unfortunately, these are the people who run the world at the moment. These are our cliques, our elites out in the Davos World Economic Forum, for example. These are many who are pulling the strings at the United Nations and the World Health Organization, at the Centers for Disease Control, and so on and so forth, as well as in basically most of our governments around the world. The people who have now ascended into the top positions in those governments are there precisely because they have proven themselves loyal to the establishment above all else, and in return, they get their proverbial 30 pieces of silver. So let's, and today we've got about 15 slides altogether, guys, and we'll just flow through it. Now, my hope is 40 minutes is a good sort of number. Any longer than that, we're sort of getting a bit tedious. Any shorter, it's a bit hard to cover all the material and allow me to ramble as I tend to do. Although I do hope that we're making some clear points. So the next slide. The great lie comes in many guises, but the aim is always the same. That seems to have been lost off the slide. No big problem with that. The aim is always the same. It's deception, guys. Now, this was a big story this week. And let's pull the whole thing up for you to have a good look at it here. You'll see there to the left, news about the UK public face call-up. Now, call-up is, this is making reference to conscription. In the event that a country was to go to war and you don't have enough soldiers to do the bidding of the diabolicals, i.e. the sociopaths and psychopaths in high places, you don't have enough, and again, I don't mean this offensively. I was a soldier myself in my youth, but there is a reason that soldiers are all young men, and because those of us who are a bit older and wiser wouldn't, we wouldn't think twice about obeying orders from above that we know to be amoral and unjust. But anyway, this is a big topic, guys. What's happened is a general has stood up and made a declaration that there's a likelihood within the next few years at some point, and that Britain, who is allied, of course, with the United States, could go to war with Russia. Noise has been made about China as well, and Iran. And if you're not alarmed about this, then I'm sorry to keep saying this, but you probably need your head examined. But I want you to just pay attention to how this is done. First of all, they fly this, they fly the message out in the servile media, you know, the puppet media, the legacy media, as it's known, who are all compromised, guys. They will do what they're told to do by the people with the money. And it's the same with our politicians as well. They've all been captured, guys. It's a done deal. This is not like something that we can just turn the dial back and change it all by sticking a few decent, honorable people in charge. That's not going to do it, guys. The systems themselves, they function on the grease, which is money. They function on that grease. The morality, the ethics that we usually ascribe to the professions, all that has gone out the window. This has been developing since the Second World War. I'm just giving you that as a generalization. On another occasion, we'll do a more full explanation of that, guys. But the point is that you've got to ask yourself, at what point do you or I say no when they come for you or your children? Yeah. Now, this is a true story, guys, and I hope they don't come and arrest me for it now at this latter point of my life. But as a young man, after I left service, I was in military service. I was fortunate I didn't see any, any war per se. You know, I did the normal training. I did about 4 years. But what happens is after you come out of the military, you're then signed on what they call the reserve for usually it's up to about 12 years. So I had another 8 years or so to serve in the reserve, which required, let's say, once every 2 years or so, you'd go away for a weekend camp and you'd march around a little bit, shoot a bit, sleep in a tent for 2 nights, and get a refresher type of thing. But interestingly, during my 8-year period on the reserve, added to my 4 years that I'd already served the actual active service, the Falklands War broke out. And those of you that remember this now, I should know the date, of course, but it was the early 80s. That's all I can, off the top of my head, the early 80s. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this, is that I was ordered to get ready to go. Now, we all know now, in hindsight, looking back at it, it was over and done with in a matter of weeks, But they sent me an order. I'd already started to grow a conscience at that point. And I wrote back to the Ministry of Defence at the time, and I said, don't worry, you won't need to call me. I'll be the first to volunteer if I see a righteous cause. But at the time, if you recall, Maggie Thatcher was in charge. She was, playing out these horrendous politics with the prisoners in the north, the activist prisoners up in the north. And, certainly she wasn't my favorite person. And when I then saw a full-size article taken out by the Argentinian government, and it was put in the British newspapers at the time. I was living over there at the time. It was put in the British newspapers, and they basically explained, and it's what we've all now come to recognize as the way the system works. They had been abused and violated repeatedly. Treaties had been broken. The Argentinians felt they had a legitimate claim to the Falklands. They'd been trying to deal with the British government and had been treated like dirt, basically, and eventually they lost patience and they went in and tried to take the place over. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make, guys, and I hope maybe even if it inspires just 1 or 2 people, in the event that a call-up comes, I said no. And I said no. The first response I got from the Ministry of Defence was, it was a warning. It was a very subtle warning, and I don't think I have it anymore, the physical letter I got from them. In those days, it was physical letters. You didn't get emails and stuff. But it implied that it could be considered an act of treason on my part to refuse to serve. And I think the way they worded it was, there are very serious consequences for treason in time of war. Literally, they can shoot you. You can be executed for treason. And with that lump in my throat, in my early 20s, it was probably one of the first conscious moral decisions of courage that I made. But I tell you, I was scared. Any day I thought there might be a knock on the door and I could be hauled away and thrown in jail. I was only a very young man. I was only in my early 20s. But funny enough, at the time, because my parents were Irish, we lived in Ireland, we'd also lived in England, that prompted me at that point to actually apply for an Irish passport. I don't know if that had any great bearing on things, but I remember getting the passport and then writing back to them again and saying, look, I reject any notion of any further service with NATO or the British services. And from now on, I'm going to consider myself an Irish citizen, which I had a right to do, of course, because I was actually living in Ireland at the age of 1. You know, it just so happened my parents were in England when I was born and so on. We came back again later. But anyway, that's another story. But the point I'm trying to make here, guys, is these tyrants in high places, these career liars and moral deviants, which most of them are, and again, I'm almost fed up making excuses for the few exceptions to the rule, because the only way you can be an exception to the rule is if you're basically passive and you know what's going on and you're not doing anything about it. Because the people who do speak up, the whistleblowers, the conscientious objectors, the people like Master Edmund Honohan from the High Court, who actually started to challenge all of the hypocrisy and the fraud going on, being facilitated, actively facilitated by judges up in the High Court. He gets stripped of all of his powers. But he's one of those very rare examples. But even in the way that he's done his best to tackle this corrupt system, you can see he's sort of confined and corralled and trapped. He can only speak a certain way and he can only present things a certain way. And it's all, you know, quote, professional. And it's, you know, I'm not in any way criticizing what he's doing. But what I'm saying is that, you know, had he stood outside the forecourts with a placard and said, don't go in here, they're all bloody corrupt, which in effect is the summary of what he's had to say. You know, he'd have been arrested, thrown in jail, vilified, false accusations made against him, you know, his possessions seized, whatever, you know, the same old treatment. So people like that who have got conscience and have got integrity, who stand up against the system, have to tread a very fine line. It's a very fine line. It's a bit like staying on Facebook, actually, which I've had to defend a few times now, because people have sort of implied, oh, the fact that I still have a presence on Facebook implies that I'm compromised, or not at all. I've just been really careful. I know if you look at all of the videos, I think I'm managing to get the important issues across. I've had 1 or 2 pulled, but certainly over on YouTube as well, I've had 1 or 2 of them pulled there. Not for good reasons, but that's no surprise. But this is why we have started now uploading videos also to Rumble. That's going to take some time because we've got hundreds of videos going back now 15 years to 12, 15 years. A lot of them are still very, very pertinent, perhaps more so now because people are listening. Yeah, it was very hard to get people to listen beforehand, guys, because it just wasn't, you know, how would you say it? It wasn't, yeah, there, I bring myself up a bit here. It just wasn't on the agenda, you know. Why, you know, what's this Manning guy doing? What's all this blather and him getting into, you know, I go off and I'd have a game of poker on a Friday night and my friends and all, we chat about stuff. And if I try to bring some of this stuff up, they just go, why do you bother? Why? And I try to explain them. I wish I didn't have to bother. But if I don't do something, it's going to be on your doorstep next week. And it's going to be on your doorstep the week after, you know. As someone's got to take a stand, make a stand and do something. And of course, I had no idea at the start of my troubles with the Irish system. I believed in it, just like a lot of my good friends, family members believed in the system. You believe and you think that the system is there to look after your rights and to protect the public interest. Guys, the great lie. That is part of the great lie. And we've got to wake up to it, guys, because once we've woken up to it, then we can start thinking realistically about solutions other than putting another political party in that's going to end up doing exactly the same thing. Or, well, fire that CEO of that corrupt company, or fire that government minister. And what happens? The next pre-trained sociopath just slides into place and continues the same model of operation. Okay, anyway. So this is just to alert people. Now why, and again, those of you that are following the story and who may still believing the official narrative, we're going to touch on that in a few minutes about the lies that are coming across in the media and the so-called fact checkers. But let's just look at one little thing here. Okay, fact check, right. So a few weeks ago, there was this article popped up on the internet. Somebody said, oh, at last the US government has admitted they've been funding biolabs in Ukraine. And as you can see here, this is Yahoo News, but they're repeating PolitiFact. Look, as soon as I saw that name, I just, they're mentioned in the Crisis Color Coup book. They're one of a list of about 40 names that we pulled out at the time that were, these are sponsored agencies who are sponsored by the people who are actually pumping out the misinformation in the first place. They then sponsor these people to go in and protect their misinformation whilst labeling the truth that we discover and try to share as being misinformation. Oh, look, it would do your head in, guys. I know I'm not trying to, it's late on a Sunday night. I don't want to do your head in too much, but I just want to make a point here. So here's the fact check, all right? So this PolitiFact says, right, we've heard about this story circulating on the internet that there are 46 United States military-funded biolabs in the Ukraine. Is it true or is it not? And Yahoo News as well is promoting this as being right. You can trust us. You come here and you will see the answers. Okay, now we'll go straight into it. Okay, so here we go. Fact checkers or more lies and obfuscation. Again, sorry, the slides have played with themselves a little bit here. So the first thing at the top, PolitiFact's ruling is false. So there's your start. Now, you know what? If you're like me, if you trusted these fact checkers, once you've read some of these diatribes and these convoluted explanations, which we're going to look at now, just not in too much depth, but I just want to point out a couple of small points here. They start off by saying that's a false claim. And now you might just stop at that point. You know, there's viral social posts saying the Pentagon has finally come clean and there's 46 US military funded biolabs in Ukraine. It's not true. It's false. It's a false claim. The next thing they do, though, is they go, here's why. Now, all they're doing, guys, is playing with words. I don't use up too much of your personal time here. So if you like, you can freeze this, you know. But you see, first of all, I've underlined internet conspiracy theorists took off running, you see. And then they talk about the document and it doesn't exactly say X, Y, and Z. And they're just playing with words because in a minute, you'll see what they actually admit, okay? But as you can see further down here, the US was asked to explain after Pentagon admits to operating 46 biolabs in Ukraine after months of denial. Read another headline by the Morning Star socialist newspaper published in Great Britain. And what does PolitiFact says? But these are mischaracterizations. Now, you can go and look for this yourself if you want, guys. You know, take a few of these words, type them in. Google will bring you up the whole article. I don't intend to go through the whole article, all right? The point I'm trying to make is they're making quite clear you're being misled. Anyone who believes that thing that there's 46 of these military-funded biolabs in Ukraine, you've been lied to. It's not true because we're the experts. We're telling you the fact that we're funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and so on and so forth. That's just secondary. We're, you know, integrity and blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's have a look at the next slide. So there's our good friend, Mr. Fauci down there. Let's see if I can pop myself out here so you can get a good look at this handsome creature with the emphasis on creature because the man does not have a soul or a conscience. Look at him. He's still, as far as we know, he's still in full-time employment. He's certainly, I know he's got a detail, Secret Service detail looking after his interests, you know. But this man, the blood that this man has on his hands is incredible. And again, if you want to know more about him, read the book or read the other good books that are out there about him by trusted, honest people. So let's see what the same article I'm just looking at. Let's just see the top box here. Since 2005, the United States has partnered with Ukraine through the Pentagon's Biological Threat Reduction Program. The purpose is to support peaceful and safe biological detection and diagnostic capabilities, and to reduce the threats posed by pathogens, according to a government fact sheet. Okay, so this is what they're saying. And of course, we just instinctively trust them, don't we? I mean, after the last 3 or 4 years of lies, I mean, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we just trust what they say? But look at what they have said. They do have a program out there, right? A biological threat reduction program funded and operated by the Pentagon, who can't even do, what do they call it? When the accountants do, they basically, I can't remember what the term is. Oh, Lord. When a business has to go through all of its accounts and you know, tot everything up and present a sheet to the government. They can't do that. There's billions of dollars are missing, just missing. They don't know where they've gone. The US government has arranged for the money to go to the Pentagon, and it's just missing. Well, of course it isn't missing. It'll be in the pockets of an awful lot of unscrupulous individuals in the military industrial complex, no doubt. But the fact is, an audit, that's why, so sorry guys, an audit. The fact that they can't even do an audit, the most expensive and, you know, overblown entity in the US government, secretive and all the rest of it, and they can't even produce an audit for their own government, yet the money still keeps getting pumped to them. What does that tell you about the state of a government like that? Okay, so so here we go again into the next thing. Andy Weber, a member of the Arms Control Association Board of Directors and a former Assistant Secretary of Defense for Nuclear, Chemical and Biological Defense Programs, previously told us there are no US military-run labs in Ukraine. But, hold on now, but rather health labs to help detect, prevent and mitigate infectious diseases. Now, one of the reasons I'm bringing this up is what they're doing, whilst denying that there's any US-funded biolabs, they're here admitting that there are 46 laboratories of some sort, but they're only doing really good, sweet, honorable, honest, innocent stuff to help poor people. Because one of the arguments is that Russia wants to get a hold of these labs, first of all, to prove to the world what America and the United Kingdom are up to, and secondly, to shut down this massively dangerous experimental programs that we're now finding out that's been going on all of this time, not only in Wuhan, but in other places around the world, funded indirectly against the law by Fauci and his buddies. Okay, so let's look at the last one here. So the Defense Department's Cooperative Threat Reduction Program has provided technical support to the Ukrainian Ministry of Health. Oh, technical support. Would that be like the technical support they provided in Vietnam and in Iraq and in all these other war zones? You know, technical experts who, you know, were just there for training purposes and whatever they might be. When in fact, they're mercenaries by any other name. Mercenaries, you know. So they've been providing this technical support to the Ukrainian Ministry of Health since 2005 to improve, of course, public health laboratories. Now listen to this. This is the last bit on this, guys, whose mission is analogous, which means it's the same as, to the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Weber said. What is the US Centers for Disease Control? And it's called the CDC. Otherwise, that's Fauci's little baby. That was the institution that was channeling illegal millions out of the country via United States universities through the EcoHealth Alliance, a fellow called Ralph Barrick, Batwoman in Wuhan, and doing this incredibly dangerous gain-of-function stuff. All right, so they've all but admitted in an article, this is a fact checker article that's basically telling you don't believe that there's biolabs, and they end up saying something like, so technically they're not, you know, they're playing with words. US military funded biolabs now becomes Pentagon funded health labs that are doing work similar to the CDC. And then you say, but the CDC has been involved in this illegal bioweapons gain-of-function stuff for years. Anyway, guys, if the only thing that I can convey to people in these videos is that when I say it's all a lie, you start from that premise. Instead of thinking it's the authorities can be trusted, the first place to position yourself, and it took me about 15 years to realize this, guys, you start from a position where the authorities purely by the simple fact that they claim to be authorities, purely because they have elevated, ascended, clawed their way up to positions of power and authority. And if you've done that, it's usually by devious and deceptive or compromised means. Just the word alone, the authorities, alarm bells should be going off everywhere. And you go, right, whatever it is they say, I'm going to presume it's a deceit, it's a deception. And we'll start from there. As we start thinking how best we can unravel all of these institutions and these collaborations between some of the wickedest people, literally, truly the most evil people in the world. Anyway, guys, on to the next slide. So I'll try and keep a happy face as we go with all of this. So I can see myself, you guys can't. All right, so what's next here? All right, so here we have the British Medical Journal urging behavioral interventions for those displaying vaccine hesitancy. Apologies for the slide, guys. It seems when I bring it up here, it shortens itself, or in a couple of cases. But anyway, you get the point. What does this mean? All right, let's just bring myself back up to the picture. Okay, what does this mean, guys? Well, the British Medical Journal is the most professional medical magazine out there, and everything's got to be rigorously checked and blah, 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 blah. The trouble is they've completely lost their credibility too. And if you listen to people like Dr. Vernon Coleman, for example, or Dr. John Campbell, in the UK, who got targeted and vilified and censored and falsely accused and all sorts of stuff, defunded, deplatformed. They've got, similar stuff's happened to me on a lesser scale, guys. Where books have been stopped and things like that because anything, the system is run by these people. Unfortunately, there's very few loopholes left. One of them is social media. Some of these independent social media platforms, such as Rumble, for example, where we can put this material up if it gets taken down elsewhere. I'm looking at other channels as well. It's just a time issue, as a matter of fact, if somebody knows what they're doing, wants to volunteer to help me, I could perhaps even, engage you to be uploading videos for me, in your spare time. It would be helpful. But anyway, back to what's going on here. So now this British Medical Journal is saying that if you have the audacity to question when the system dictates to you, again, roll up your sleeve and take this medication. If you question it, well, let's consider some behavioral interventions here. This is the authorities are getting, they've gone mad, guys. They're out of control. Don't forget, they're supposed to be public and civil servants. They're there to serve us. We've gotten to a point now where they're saying, no, we'll tell you what to do. And if you don't like it, and whether we put it in colorful language like behavior interventions, or we put it in this HR 6666. Yes, please pay attention to the number, guys. This is the American, this was in 2020. This man here, he's an ex-Black Panther, for what it's worth. He's now a senator in the United States. His name will come to me in a moment. Senator Robson, I think it's Robson. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, you can check it out. But check out for yourself, HR 6666. What is it? Well, I'll tell you now, in summary, it's in the book, and we've explained it in the book. This was a bill put through Congress that immediately attracted, I think it was $100 billion was assigned to it immediately, whereby, in a nutshell, and fact checkers come back at me and say, oh, well, that's not exactly true. Look, in a nutshell, it was giving authority and funding to mobile units to enforce whatever COVID legislation was required, including mandatory testing and injections, if that was the case, right? Now, the fact that it's HR 6666, I'm telling you, there is no such thing as coincidences, not in the times we're living in now, and not when this diabolical symbolism keeps repeating. And you look over there on the right, our good friend Bill Gates again. Please check out patent number WO 2020, came up at about the same time, 060606. This is Bill Gates's patent for a chip that can communicate through your skin or such like, or in a device with cryptocurrency. It can be injected into you and so on and so forth. Look, guys, why does his patent have that number on it? Why? Why does this particular intrusive, tyrannical bill in the US Congress, why is it does it have that number? And look, there's a whole slew of them. I'll be doing an interview on this, by the way, guys. Watch out for it. Next month, I'll advertise it. But we've reserved interview number 666 precisely for this purpose with Jesse Hall from Canada. And when I know, I'll let you guys know. But in the next perhaps 2 or 3 weeks, I would imagine I'll be going on Jesse, and we'll be discussing the symbolism, satanic symbolism, why it's important, why you have to understand it, because it's important to a lot of these guys. All right, it's important to a lot of these guys. That's why it should be important to us. If greed and warmongering is important to these guys and they have the money and the power to achieve it, then it should be important to us as well. We need to understand it, guys. All right, so I hope I made the point there. Next, I can't see the slides before they come up, guys. Of course, I did them earlier. But please forgive me if it's a little bit jumpy. So as another example here, let's just pop this fella up here a little bit. Okay, so again, I'm sorry to say, guys, this slide formatting is overlapped, but it's not that distracting. I'll keep an eye on that in future. Okay, so who is this? Now, you just can't see this at the top left, or maybe you can. I've got a recording thing over there. But it says the digest, something digest, isn't it, up there? The Daily Digest. All right. Now, I saw this one and I thought, who's the Daily Digest? Because as soon as you see a heading like that, can mRNA vaccines give us superhuman immunities, complete with their superhuman figure and all the rest of it, then at the bottom we see them say, vastly different from what had come before them. The mRNA vaccines proved to be just the right solution at just the right time, since they helped protect the world from the worst the pandemic had to offer. But that was only just the start. And this is one of those series that you click on. As you can see, it's got 21 slides. It's up there on the internet. Well, I'm just putting this first one up to show you, just to make the point. First thing I did was go in and try and find out who funds the Daily Digest, half expecting to see the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or the Bill and Hillary Clinton Foundation or the WHO or whatever. Very interestingly, maybe you guys can find it, I couldn't find out. All right, that in itself is a bit suspicious. But they made reference to a couple of other associations. Again, it's a network of insidious associations who are there to deceive you. Okay, on the next slide. So this is the article, part of this, as you can see, March the 5th, 2021, from the CDC, okay? And they're promoting what a wonderful invention this thing is, right? And in simple terms, they're making statements about how good this stuff is for you. Now, what we know now, that was 2021, we're now in 2024, 3 years later. The point I'm trying to make here, guys, is look at the quality. Look at the polished, finished, and the veneer of the great lie. Look how beautifully presented it is. Look how convincingly presented it is. I don't blame people for falling for it, but I do blame people for continuing to fall for it. Okay? So this was the CDC again, Fauci's base, Centers for Disease Control. It says at the very bottom line, if you look at this, guys, I'm just going to this one line, it does not become part of the cell or affect a person's genes or DNA. Well, if that's true, then the Florida senior health, whatever he's called, the Surgeon General in Florida, which we put up a post on Facebook a few days ago, then he's lying. Well, I know who I would prefer to believe, because he makes he calls it actually the Antichrist of products, this mRNA vaccine, because it targets human DNA, which he describes as being sacred. And he's trying to get them all stopped. So you've got to keep asking yourself, how could they produce such beautifully scripted, well-organized, consensual lies where all of the so-called professions are all agreeing across the board, oh yes, there's something fundamentally wrong with trusting the authorities. That's the point I think I'm trying to make to you all, guys. There's something fundamentally important about us recognizing we need to trust our own intuition. Obviously, I don't know everything. You don't know everything. But focus on the things that you do know and make your conclusions based on what you know, not what you believe, okay? And I'm saying this almost explicitly to certain religious people who will turn a blind eye to the facts and the realities around them in favor of a more comfortable belief system, despite the fact this could very well be the way that God is trying to reach them. And their religion is getting in the way. And again, I don't want to offend anyone, guys, but it's a thought just to put a seed out there. Truth is its own witness. And all right, just run this ticker across the bottom. There we are. Words are only metaphors. Truth is its own witness. It's one of my most favorite quotes. Truth is its own witness. In other words, keep pushing and pushing and pushing until you know what is true and what isn't. And be suspicious. Like the first thing you do, someone says, fact check. That's not true. This is. You find who funds this fact checker? Okay. Because there are, we've put up examples previously, the Irish Council of Civil Liberties, the Irish Human Rights Commission, integrity, independence, we speak truth to power, we are free, of constraints and nobody can control us. And then you go and look and see who's funding them. And you find out it's the Department of Justice and it's the big banks and it's solicitor firms and whatever, You literally cannot believe what you're reading, guys. And we've all got to find the strength, the will, the energy, and the courage to do the research necessary so that you're not depending on authorities. And the more of us that become aware, the less we need the authorities. And if you were to go back to the original Garden of Eden model, you could ask the question, who is the authority there? Well, it was the source, whatever name you want to use for him. Now, I'm going to go to the Irish Light newspaper here briefly. This is Gemma O'Doherty's baby. It leads into some commentary in the courts. Let's pull this up here, guys. All I'm going to say about this is if you can get a hold of a copy of this paper, my assessment on the articles I've read, and this, I actually did an article for Gemma at the beginning when she first ran this paper. But whenever I've looked at this, and I use it now it's a great source of research, I find it to be cuttingly direct and accurate, to the point where clearly it's going to offend a lot of people who are willing to believe the official narrative. It's going to shake them up. There's no beating about the bush in this thing. But I find it to be very authentic. Now, that's my opinion at the moment, all right? I rarely give opinions, all right? That's my opinion, all right? Usually I only talk about facts and everything, and it's only based on the articles that I have read. I would recommend people to go in and look at it. If you don't know what's going on here, go in and look at it, because at the moment, Gemma's in the courts. The courts are trying to shut her down. They're trying to see what she's done, actually, and, you've got to give her credit for this. She has funded the production of this newspaper, and as far as I know, she just gives them away. And she's asking people to give them to people who haven't read it yet. I'm going to start sharing them on the Integrity Ireland website as soon as I get organized in that, so that people can read it for themselves as well, or put a link across. But if you look here in the, let's put it up a little bit larger. On the left-hand side, new figures show that not one child in Ireland died from COVID. Yet young people were bullied into getting an experimental vaccine which could destroy their health, and so on and so forth. There's very strong arguments put in there. You've got it, for example, I know I've said this before, guys. I'm telling you a fact again. It's in the Crisis Colour Coup book, and much of what is being produced in Gem's newspaper will align with the facts in that book, because of course the book was written nearly 2.5 years ago now, so there's some new discovery since, but everything in the book now is proving to be true. There's nothing at all, except for I spelled somebody's name wrong like a fool. Anyway, but other than that, in the book. Other than that, there's nothing I need to roll back on. But if you consider the fact that as we're talking now, they're now trying to put out the theory, that this was created in Wuhan in a lab leak and all. Look, it's all in the. We've known this stuff for 3 years, 4 years in some cases, right? We've known it, okay? But the fact alone that the so-called SARS-CoV-2 has still not been isolated. Guys, look it up. If you don't know what it means, it's a medical procedure that should be the first stage in identifying a disease before you actually start making remedies to counteract it. Okay, it still hasn't been done. There's certainly, you don't get overwhelmed with all the people all over the world talking about it and this, that, and they've jumped. It's like, okay, just don't worry about how we got here. Let's just talk about why we're here. We go, no, hold on a minute. How we got here is a huge part of the question, because if we're all talking about an entity that, in one way or another may not be what they are claiming it to be, we need to know that. We need to know that. So anyway, this is the sort of stuff that is being covered by Gemma. Now, let's put a little spotlight here on Mr. Mark Sanfey. Now, Mr. Mark Sanfey is a High Court judge. And the reason I'm putting him up here, a couple of reasons. One is, as you can see there from Gemma's website, he wants to make journalism a criminal offense because she reported on something. They're facilitating it. Look, it doesn't surprise me at all that they're ganging up on her, so to speak. All right. I shared my opinions and my insights about this with Gemma and with John Waters way back when they launched their first case around the COVID thing. But here we are. This is my conversation with Judge Sanfey. I'm asking the question, why does anybody go in front of this person? He's a proven crook, liar, and a corrupt scoundrel. Why would you go in front of him? Hey, look, if like I keep saying, if someone comes out of a restaurant and says the cook in there is useless or he's poisoning the food, what fool goes in there? I've done it myself, guys, in front of some of these judges. There's a Judge Meenan was the duty judge one day. I had to go in there. And they said, oh, well, here, you got to go. I said, I'm not dealing with him. That man's a crook. But he's the duty judge. I said, I don't care. I don't care who's the duty judge. Let's see, I'm trying to pull myself up here so I can say what I have to say to the camera. I don't care. He's a crook and a liar. Why would I waste my valuable time going in front of a judge that I know is corrupt, expecting to get fair treatment? I'm not completely stupid. Get someone else. And when they said, so when they didn't get someone else, I walked into another courtroom and I actually ended up in front of a fellow called Dingham, who's another absolute, they've sold their souls, guys. They've sold their souls. And Dingham, in turn, referred me on to this Sanfey guy. And this guy's, without putting a heavy issue or emphasis on this, was to do with Noriko's passing. And here we go. Let's pull him back up. So here's me. I said, but Judge, the paperwork you have in your hands has been unlawfully altered by your office manager, Colin Shortall. It has had parts of it crossed out without my permission. It is a fraudulent document. Now, in any other case, guys, that would mean that the case gets thrown out, Sanfey says, well, this is what's before me. I can only work with what the court service gives me. And finally, I said, it's been fraudulently altered. Are you listening to me, Judge? It's a fraudulent document. It can't be accepted in court. Why aren't you ordering Mr. Shortall in here to explain this? And he just, as they do, he just, waved his head aside, and looked down at the paperwork, said something, and then got up and walked out. And this was the guy who facilitated the lawyers who moved my wife out of Beaumont Hospital while she was in a coma, against all of the rules, all of the laws, against her fundamental rights and everything, in order to prevent me getting an injunction to see my dying wife. I'll say no more, guys. I would just simply say this. Anybody who sees this video and knows that they're going in front of this guy and doesn't object, shame on you. Absolutely shame on you. Okay, that's it on. Here we go. And who's next? So here we go. Enoch Burke's father denies assaulting a female guard at the forecourts. Oh, dear, 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 dear. Now, of course, everybody knows, I would imagine, who Mr. Burke is. He's the father of Enoch. Enoch Burke is still in jail because of the gender pronoun issue, where he's refusing to back down based on his faith position. I admire these people, guys. I admire them. I'm not going to comment on my direct personal alignment with their beliefs, other than to say these are people of principle, and the principles are rooted in universal principles. Okay, and we've covered this in another video about the gender issue and explained, how there are only two genders. It's anybody who claims otherwise is at best confused, misinformed. It just doesn't understand fully what they're talking about. Okay, and I explained it in psychological terms, in physical, biological terms, and in biblical and mythological terms, how it has to be a certain way. This man is standing on his biblical principles. God bless him for that. He's proving a point, is he not? And I made a prediction at the beginning when he first went into jail. I said, this is going to be interesting, because if he maintains his principles, he's going to break the system. Now, what form that breakage is going to look like, I'm not quite sure. But before it happens, his family are going to be targeted. So here's his father now, is accused of assaulting a female guard. Listen, these days, you saw me, I was thrown in jail last June for allegedly assaulting a court service manager, even though we had video that was denied me for 5 years, proving that I didn't do anything. It doesn't matter. It got to the point where I thought to myself, it's a liability talking to anybody who works for the state, for fear that they will at any given moment just make an allegation. What did you say? The same thing happened to Steve Kerr from the Irish Inquiry not a few weeks ago. Some person disingenuously, somebody connected with the council in Mayo, walked up to him and said, "Oh, Happy New Year, Steve." As soon as Steve put his hand in his hand, this man threw himself to the floor, screaming and crying out, "What'd you do that for?" He was trying to set Stephen up with a false allegation of assault. These people are nasty, all right? Now, I don't know the facts of what happened with Mr. Burke Sr. and this Garda, but if he denies it, if Enoch Burke's father, right, I think his name is Tom, if he denies it, it's down there, Sean Burke. If Sean Burke is denying that he assaulted her, and we've got a Garda claiming that she was assaulted, again, I know who I'm going to believe, based on my own experience. And no offense intended towards the female guard, but that's my assumption, because these are truthful, honest people. They are flies in the proverbial ointment. Actually, they're more than flies. They're like elephants in the honey jar type of thing, as far as the challenging the system. And who else has been targeted? Well, let's have a quick look here. Here's Amy. This is Enoch's sister, one of them. There's quite a large family, all self-educated, homeschooled, and all that sort of stuff, She was a trainee solicitor at Arthur Cox Solicitors. Now, again, I'm just an anecdote for you guys, for everyone to understand what's going on, okay? This guy here, this is Arthur Cox, right? He passed away in 1965, all right? As you can see, he was a priest. He was also a solicitor, and he was also a senator in the Dáil. Now, let's hope one of those professions gets him into past the pearly gates, all right? Let's hope. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that Arthur Cox Solicitors firm is one of the biggest firms, certainly the biggest in Ireland, one of the biggest in the world. Offices in New York and London and all the rest of it. They still sign off their documents with his signature. Now, when I pulled them on this a few years back, and it caused a panic. I said, hold on a minute. Who's sending me these letters? Because they'd all be signed Arthur Cox. Who's sending me these letters? And I would get nobody's action. I said, if you, Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so, solicitor or barrister, if you're sending me, please sign it in your own name. I suspected, again, it's some bit of legalistic tomfoolery going on. But she was sacked from Arthur Cox in and around the same time that the Burkes started objecting to the lies and the cover-ups in Mayo General Hospital and places like that. She tries to get the Work Relations Commission, is that what they're called? I think. They have a hearing in front of the Work Relations Commission or something like that, isn't it? Yeah. And she got a hearing before them, And he considered calling the Gardaí, oh, woofy boo, on her mother, because her mother was trying to hold her ground, and asking him, why aren't you calling these senior partners in Arthur Cox? Of course, they don't get called. They don't get called to a tribunal. They don't get called to court. Oh, no, they're too important. The law doesn't apply to them, you see. I hope everybody's starting to realize this. Anyway, her case gets thrown out. Then like I say, the patsy press, the legacy media, you know, the Independent, the Sunday Times, and with their compromised journaliers, which is another phrase coming up now, journaliers, not journalists, journaliers. They just print whatever the government tells them to print and destroy the character and reputation of good people like the Burkes. All right, guys, we're now into the last couple of slides. This one I'm going to bump up. Now, I want to, right, you can see at the top here, vote no. What's this about? Okay, this is about the upcoming March the 8th, I believe, the referendum, okay? Now, oh, I had a slide I meant to put in there. I forgot to put it in there. Anyway, check the register that you're registered, guys. There's a website called checktheregister.ie. I forgot to put it up here. I won't do it now. But I went in and checked. My name isn't in there. And I ran for political office twice. Yeah, 2016 and 2020. Go past that story now. I did it mainly as you know, as a means to an end, to get some publicity, to show people about the corruption and everything. But I went in to check if I was on the electoral register. I'm not. Okay, so it's worth checking. It wouldn't surprise me at all, again, if there's shenanigans going on there to make sure that the vote gets passed. I'll pull up the poster now. I want to see these people on the right here, the WakeUpEire. Okay, let's pull them up. I'll just put myself down in the corner there. Okay. WakeUpEire is the name of the website, okay? Afterwards, I'd like you to go over there, guys, and you can see the link at the bottom there. Again, it's shortened itself, but anyway, www.wakeupeire.com. Please go there. Now, it's about the government trying to replace the concept of the family with this thing that they're calling durable relationships. Now, there are multiple problems with this. I'm not going to go into a lot of it right now, guys, but I will say this. You can think of this in a logical, social sense. You can think of it in biblical sense, but the family is the cornerstone, my friends. It is the cornerstone of fruitful, integrated communities and societies. It's the cornerstone. It's the quality of the family that reflects the quality of the communities. Now, these people, if they manage to change the concept of family into a durable relationship, okay? And if you look at the bottom of the slide here on the left-hand side, it is widely accepted that the average family unification, I'll take the banner out 1 second. Yeah, there it is. The average family unification number for non-nationals is 20 persons each. What this means is that basically if you can, okay, if I send my buddy a postcard once, I send him a Christmas card every year, would you call that a durable relationship? Yeah, why not? Flexible term, isn't it? It's durable. It's lasted for 40 or 50 years. Every Christmas I send him a Christmas card. And luckily for me, he's just moved from our native Pakistan or Central Africa or the Far East. He's managed to respond to Mr. O'Gorman's invitation to come to the country. He's got himself a nice house. He's got free money. He's got services. And, well, his buddy Stephen has been in a durable relationship with him for the last 30 or 40 years. And that would qualify me to come over and be a resident here as well. All right, possibly a citizen as well, or whatever status I would require. It's a very, very vague term, durable relationship. Who tests what durable is? Just like who tests what is hate speech? Who tests what is misinformation? Yeah, who tests? It's always the so-called authorities. They're not to be trusted, guys. By all means, freeze the screen and read what's written here. But what I want to point out, guys, is that the Wake Up Ireland crowd and a friend of mine called Barry, he's one of the central figures there, keeping the thing driving forwards. He's got great energy. they are, like many other people, including, like I said, like Gemma, for example, sponsoring the Irish Light newspaper, like my colleague David Egan going in and sponsoring their own court case, and all the time and effort and energy that's going into that on behalf of others. The Hold the Line people who are out on the streets on your behalf, not for their own health, not for, but, well, actually it was for their own health, but not just for their own health, for everyone else's health as well. It was an act of selflessness, all right? And what I want to show you here, guys, and we're almost finished now, is the next slide. This is another poster they've made, and I will see if I can read this to you, because I want, not the poster so much, guys, because, again, they're attacking the words woman and mother. They want to permanently remove them from our Constitution, all right? Please read through, all right? They now want to call them carers with bonds. What sort of bonds? Huh? What sort of bonds? Oh, a postcard at Christmas, maybe. Who cares? Why do they have to mess with this? Who gives them the authority? They're going through the sham of a referendum, guys. Look, if the referendum doesn't pass, they'll find another way to do it. Just like with the Lisbon Treaty, Oh, do it again. We didn't get the right result. Or boxes of votes, instead of going under lock and key to the Garda stations, ended up going back to the county registrar's houses over the weekend. And woofy boo, when they came in on the Monday morning, could it be possible that the votes from the first referendum were added because nobody changed the wording on them? It was still, I think it was the 28th or the 29th Amendment at the time, something like that. Anyway, that's worth looking into, guys. But I'm going to read this, guys, because I think it's important. Of course, I can't, let's see if I can't remove the book, I'm afraid, without wasting time here. So we added this leaflet to the resources opposing the 39th and 40th Amendments. Our campaign kicks off this week and keeps going till the 8th of March. We're getting 2,000, is it? I can't see what they've written there, guys. Anyway, they've got, I think it's 20,000, is it? Leaflets and stickers. We'll be distributing them around themselves around Dublin and surrounding counties. We will be giving boxes to any groups who are boots on the ground. Now, this message was sent to me, okay? And I'm sharing it with you. And also, there is an option to get 500 leaflets and 50 stickers to your door, or you can meet us at an information drop and get some. So they're basically volunteering to give this stuff to anybody who wants it, who is concerned, because we are up against the big boys, guys, aren't we? We're all up against the big boys. Yeah. All right. They've got all of our taxes, all of the money that they've stolen from us. They're using that to keep themselves in positions of power and authority. The best we can do is get out in the streets and protest while they're sitting smoking cigars and sipping brandy and laughing out the windows at us, right? Not that protest doesn't have its time and its place, but we're beyond that now, guys. We're beyond that. We have to get the message out to everybody. Anybody with a conscience, anybody who has any concern for humanity, for the future of their children, needs to take action now. They need to understand why it's imperative that you do check the register. Make sure that you're there and that you do vote no. All right? So the WakeUpEire people are sponsoring this out of their own pockets. They ask people, if you can afford it, please make a donation, but it's not conditional. If you want these leaflets, they'll deliver them to your door. If you're willing to get out there and share them around, put them up on lampposts, share them with your friends, get up in the corner and on your soapbox and hand them out to people outside of Tesco's, whatever it is, guys. We can do this, okay? We can do this, all right? So please follow the links, read this, and kudos to the people who are putting their money, their time, their integrity, and their truth on the line. And they're doing it for other people. And that's the way we've all got to start thinking, guys. We've got to start living for the sake of others. We've got to start understanding that the diabolical constructs that infect and infest this world at the moment, all of these top-down hierarchies, they do not have consciences, all right? They do not have consciences. Individuals do, and that's why we're asking individuals to apply to Wake Up Ireland, follow the links, and ask them to deliver these leaflets. They'll bring them to your door, guys. It couldn't be easier for you, okay? If you can make a donation, please help them. But I know it. These are people. The printer, for example, is printing all of these. Oh, I see it is 200,000. There we go, guys. I said 2,000, 20,000. 200,000 leaflets and stickers. And the printer is doing it. I wish in a way I knew the name of the printer. If it's given to me next time, I'll put it up there because they deserve to be recognized for their faith and their generosity. They are printing without payment and in the hope that it'll be covered later. But that's the attitude we've got to have, guys. Same for, you know, in same vein with myself, I got materials and books and everything. You do it, you know, hopefully you recoup some of the expenses. You put up websites, you do videos like this, but you don't do it for the monetary reward. You do it because it's the right thing to do. Okay. All right. We've just gone over the hour, guys, which I think is going to complicate the upload. So I think we'll finish now. So please go. I'll just pull it up quickly there again for you to freeze the screen, guys, and read this and decide in your own conscience whether or not you need to say and do something. And please be brave enough to do what needs to be done. There we are, guys. If you want to help us, you want to support us, crisisculku.com. And I think I've got one final, slide. Yes, I'll leave this up here. I'll finish on this, guys. Thank you again for all of the support. This was the little promotion we did, little business cards for the book. If you haven't read it, guys, please do. That's the best way to support us. Then share what you learn, because in there it explains what's happened to the world, how human evil has become a monstrosity that is enveloping us all, and the pandemic was only the beginning of it. All right, guys, thanks again for all your support and for all of the messages, and I'll end the recording now. God bless everyone. Thumb up this one. Here we are. All right, God bless everyone. Thanks again for the kindness and the support, and we'll talk to you soon. Next Sunday, hopefully.